Now, relations between Europe and AstraZeneca continue to worsen, with the European Commission set to launch a second legal case against the vaccine maker over delayed deliveries. Now, after repeated cuts to its vaccine supply, which contributed to Europe's slow vaccination drive, the EU had first sued the Anglo-Swedish drug maker in late April in a bid to procure more doses. Now, today it will launch a second case on the merits of the issue, and officials say that this case would allow the EU to seek potential financial penalties. As of May the 7th, AstraZeneca has delivered 50 million doses of its COVID-19 vaccine to the European Union countries, a milestone that the company was expected to hit in January. The volume delivered make up just 1/6 of the total commitments so far. Under its contract with the EU, AstraZeneca has committed to deliver 300 million doses by the end of June. But citing production problems and export restrictions, AstraZeneca in March has revised these delivery targets. The company said it would deliver only 100 million by the end of June, and it had delivered only 30 million in total by the end of March. Now, in a sign of how much the bloc has lost its confidence in AstraZeneca, the EU has said it won't place further orders with the company. Joining us for more details on this story is our correspondent Lucy Hugh, coming to us live from Brussels. Good afternoon to you, Lucy. It's great to have you with us. Now, there's a complete lack of confidence from the EU in AstraZeneca and no further orders. What does this mean for vaccine availability in the EU and the region?
Well, certainly we know that there are AstraZeneca vaccines supplied to the European Union, that there have been, as you say, 50 million doses delivered by the end of April. But there is a huge shortage from what was initially promised by the company as far as the EU is concerned in terms of its contractual obligations. And we now know that from June, the EU won't be renewing an option to secure additional doses as part of a wider pivot away from AstraZeneca towards the messenger RNA technology of BioNTech Pfizer, particularly, as well as the Moderna jab as well. At the same time as moving away from AstraZeneca, the EU has signed a major contract for an extension with BioNTech Pfizer for an additional 1.8 billion doses of that vaccine through until 2023. So a clear sense of where the European Commission intends to proceed moving forward. There are still AstraZeneca doses available, but there are restrictions in place given that mixed messaging that we had over the last few months or so to do with whether the vaccine was appropriate for older age groups, then for younger age groups, given those cases of rare blood clotting that we saw that has now been listed as a side effect of the vaccine, and means that it is restricted for people under the age of 60 in many European countries. So there has been, a sign that this relationship has been further damaged with that second lawsuit being launched today, which is about the merits of the case and could result in financial penalties. But also the very real restrictions in place across much of the continent mean that younger age groups are unable to access the jab.
Will you take us through some more of these details? What are the possible legal and financial consequences that AstraZeneca will be facing and liable for?
So the first lawsuit that was launched at the end of April was about securing those doses that AstraZeneca, according to the EU, had failed to deliver on. You mentioned there that target of 300 million doses by the end of June. We're expecting less than half of that. The AstraZeneca delivered just 30 million of a promised 90 million doses in the first quarter, and we're looking at similar delivery shortages through this second quarter of the year. So the EU isn't really concerned about quarter one, but it does want to ensure that what it's contractually obliged to receive in the second quarter does make its way to European nations. This second case is about the merits of the case. It's more about the technicalities of the contracts that were signed between the two sides, given that we're hearing very different accounts of what was in that contract from either side in this. After the proceedings at the end of April, that first lawsuit, AstraZeneca said the case was without merit, that it intended to defend itself robustly in Supreme Court, and given that this second lawsuit does carry the risk of fines, of financial penalties that could be really hefty sums, certainly we are expecting AstraZeneca to contest this case too. The first introductory case has been heard at a Brussels court today, and we're expecting a court hearing later on in the month, or perhaps in June.
Lucy, thank you for bringing us those details.
WION, now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.